And do you see what I see?
I do.
It's another episode of POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies, bringing to you the news you need to know before you lose and have to go. POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. Tonight, we have the sensationalist Sin Sin and Odie.
What's up?
Along with Mercer Prescott, the leader of this motherfucker thing we call POLI-TRICKS. Mercer, do your mother beep thing. Now, why you say beep? You already cursed. I know.
And that's what I was saying. Like, who you censoring for? And why?
F-bomb.
We also got Odie in the house. Hey, Odie.
Hey guys.
And of course, you know, we heard from our showrunner / producer Blue, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. We got a lot to talk about, and yeah, we'll start with some. Well, it's all funny depending on who you are, but we'll start with some of the funny stuff because this dude in Utah decided to go. I don't know if he thought he was Hawkeye. I don't know if he thought that he was on Walking Dead, but he basically got out of his car because he was mad because protesters were blocking the streets, right? Yeah, people do get pissed off at that. My niece got pissed off at protesters in Atlanta, but then again, she's a nurse. She would work for 12 hours. She just wanted to go home, you know? She wanted to go home to her kids. So I can understand the anger sometimes. But this dude took it a little bit too far, pulled out a bow and arrow. And here's the thing. Have you guys seen the video of this?
I have.
In Blue's
Yeah.
picture on the right-hand side, I think that dude got shot with an arrow.
No, I didn't. I don't remember seeing anybody get shot with
I
the
think
arrows,
he fell. That dude fell.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
he
know.
fell. I think he tripped over the end of that trailer right there. I don't
We
think
really
he got
don't
shot
make
because
we don't make references to the video because it's really a podcast and they're not seeing the video. This is just for the YouTube listeners. So don't ever look like you're looking at it. Just make reference to it, but not like you're looking at it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
'Cause everybody
Well,
don't see it.
but he
Most
was
of it get it
asking us. I
audibly.
figured it's him asking us, like, have we seen the video?
Yeah.
So there's
Okay,
a guy.
I got you.
But
Now
yeah,
that guy did get shot in his backbone. He's now paralyzed from the waist down.
Are you serious?
I just be talking shit.
Oh God! You need to start recording over.
Because I was trying to find out if he actually shot someone, because I think after he let one of those arrows fly, that's when the group just turned on him and they beat the stuff. And I think one dude tried to hit him with a skateboard.
Well, if you notice, when everybody jumps on him, that guy that fell was one of the guys that was punching on him.
Was he?
got
Okay.
up. Yeah.
All right. So he probably just fell. I'm just glad that no one really got hit with an arrow, because I mean,
just thought, that was because you just saw like a swarm of people like just all decide to whoop his ass. Everybody came together and said, "You deserve this ass whooping.
Yeah.
You deserve it."
Well, did you guys see the after interview when a reporter interviewed him?
yes,
He told like 8 lies.
basically.
Two black
It was
guys
awful.
jumped me.
Yes.
But that's the thing. Like, that's what that's the antagonizers go to, is the black guy did it. The black guys did it.
He also told the reporter that he grabbed his arrow after they jumped on him.
Right.
In self-defense. He said, I only grabbed my weapons after they hit me. You liar.
But that blows my mind. It's like, did y'all forget that people are videotaping this? Or because I'm legitimately not a person who lies. So, and if I say I don't remember something, I really don't recall. I'll stick with that versus just making some shit up. And that's what really blows me. It's like, y'all really just making shit up out here. Like, we didn't see the tape or see the pictures. And I just don't have, like, I'm not built to lie like that. So when people lie, I always want to get in their mind and be like, why did you lie? Like, did you know at that moment you were lying? Is that how you remember it happening? Like, why did you come up with the story? But the truth of the matter is, we know why he said 2 black guys, because he could have easily said 2 white guys. Or several white people, because it was a lot of white people.
Or just 2 people. He didn't have to put any color to him. Just like, yeah, I got jumped by 2 guys. But he specifically pegged them as African Americans.
Right.
You know. He thought he was big game hunting, and yeah. And then the worst part was for him. They set his car on fire. So they and the funny part was
and his face was fucked up. His face was all the way fucked up.
Yeah, they beat the stuff inside of him, and they were interviewing him, and the guy asked, "Was his car damaged?" He said, well, the car's over there on fire, so yeah, it's totaled. and then he lost his phone. I think his phone was in the car. So then he's like, I couldn't even call for a ride. And then the reporter didn't even offer him a ride. He was like, well, you should go to the hospital. He's like, I can't. He said, I'm on unemployment. And I was just like.
No, he said he didn't have, he did say he didn't have unemployment, but he also said he didn't have insurance.
So if he don't have insurance, why is he out there in the streets?
And better and better.
Why are you out there in the streets instigating fights if you don't have any insurance?
Anyways, all that red you see on the guy's face in the video or the picture, whatever you happen to be looking at when you look at it online, isn't even blood. It's makeup.
That swelling says that he was fucked up. But I do know this much. We can see that he's being arrested in the picture. So
yeah, for agitation. For an illegal weapon or harboring a weapon of some sort to do harm.
He brought
a
bow and arrow to an ass whooping.
But I think that cop is in on it too. Maybe a different kind of crisis actor. These motherfuckers, we're in some kind of movie. It's like the biggest blockbuster ever, you dig?
So basically you think we're what's my man named Jim Carrey? Truman Show?
That was a great movie. I want to see that again.
You know what? I don't think they're that smart to
really
do something like that. I think they're dumb.
Dude, I see examples of crisis actors over the last 6 or 7 years.
The funny thing is, though, I kind of what's weird is like we've seen people actually die. Like, so I don't understand why there's even a need for crisis actors because there is a real crisis. So the whole point of crisis actors, and I could never understand why, especially right-wing people would say that about mass shootings, but I think that they've been doing it longer. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I think that they originated it, and so it's like, well, we use crisis actors, so we know that you are, and you're doing it to push your agenda just like we do it to push ours, except our agenda is better. Like, I think that's how they really rationalize it and justify what they're doing. But yeah, crisis actors are a thing. In this case, I don't think it was, but I do like because that ass whooping was too real. Unless he's like some sort of stuntman and he's trained to take whoopings like that, I don't see anybody setting themselves up like that.
Dude, I've seen pro wrestlers with less blood on them.
We all know wrestling fake though.
Yeah, but they do blade themselves up. No, that's perfectly fine. But I will say this though. The fact that they set his car on fire was just kind of like, it's like he asked the question, I'm getting my ass beat by like 15 people. How can this be any worse than it is now? And then he has to explain to the insurance company that his car is on fire.
And then they flipped it. That was like, they flipped the car. I was like, you guys really are just giving him the ultimate ass whooping. Him and his property.
But the thing is, like, these people, they have these fantasies of, you know, when there's a riot, what they're going to do, they're going to come out and, you know, why would you bring a bow and arrow to a riot? How many people do you think you're going to shoot with a bow and arrow before they swarm you? I mean, case in point, how many people do you think you could shoot before you get swarmed by like 20 protesters and they beat the stuff inside of you?
Maybe he was a professional archery or something. I don't know.
He wasn't a very good one. That's probably why he's unemployed. Oh, man. But I will say this.
That motherfucker ain't unemployed. He's an actor.
If he's a crisis actor, he's the world's shittiest crisis actor.
Because you said if he is a crisis actor? Then he isn't. I get it. You know what I'm saying? You get it?
No, we don't do that Alex Jones stuff around here. Like every time something happens, Alex Jones is like, well, they're just crisis actors, and he just ruins. And you know,
dude, we call it like we see it. And I'm telling you, this motherfucker is a crisis actor. You think this shit was legit? Is he crazy? We never saw his car. Or did you? I didn't.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah, we did, and
what was that
there's
little
too
ugly
many
thing
people
with
to
the
be in
Dodge?
on it. If it was
Yeah.
like a one-on-one encounter, fine, I would buy that. But all them people did not all of a sudden get on the same page to whoop his ass.
Yeah, they
It was
came out of
like
nowhere.
he got jumped. We saw it. He
And
wasn't ready for that.
if he was a crisis actor, he would know he's being taped. And he wouldn't lie to a reporter.
Yeah, he lied. Right. He told like 8 different stories in like 3 sentences.
And none of them made any sense. he was just like,
Yeah, actors have a script. They stick to the script.
yeah.
There wasn't no script for that.
Right. I was convinced that he got hit so hard upside the head he forgot what happened. Oh, he was dizzy.
He just caught a little concussion there. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I've seen some other situations where I really feel like they are crisis actors. I'm not sure if this is part of it today, but did you guys see the big ordeal about the black guy who was blocking off and protecting the police officer or whatever? I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but a lot of people believe that he was either an undercover cop or a crisis actor.
Now, here's my thing.
That's crazy. I seen that footage and I never got that, but I did feel like it was somewhat orchestrated.
Yeah.
I almost said something I was. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so glad I didn't say what I just said.
I think the black guy that was protecting the police officer was definitely orchestrated. This guy right here with the black blue eye and the blood, I think that was real.
And let's be honest, like, would a cop really hug a black person like that? It's like three or four of them hugged them. Like, they always in on it. I think it was like a commercial for some let's love type shit. You know what I'm saying?
I'll put it like this. I saw a story, Tim Scott, who was basically the only black Republican in the Senate, right? He was telling a story about how in 1 year, I forgot what year he said it was, because I just saw the story before we started. He got pulled over by the cops 7 times in 1 year. Now, here's the thing. He's not like a state rep where you got to look him up to see who he is because you don't know who your state rep is. No, he's a senator. So almost everybody knows who their senator is.
He's just one of 2.
Yeah.
For his state.
So, and you mean to tell me the cops don't know who their senators are when they get paid by the government? And you mean to tell me they pulled him over 7 times because they didn't know he was a state, I mean, he was a senator? So when he told that story about how he got pulled over 7 times in 1 year, I just kept scrolling. I'm like, you know what? You're shilling for the people that want to see you dead. And then you're surprised. Well, I got pulled over 7 times in 1 year. They should have pulled you over 10 times for being a jackass. Yeah. And my thing, I've had people unfriend me lately because about the way I talk about the cops. But I mean, honestly, my theory is this. There's more bad cops than good cops, because if there were more good cops than bad cops, wouldn't the good cops just put the bad cops in check? You know?
Well, I'm glad you wasn't
being complacent.
I'm glad you wasn't. I'm glad y'all wasn't on A Man's Perspective last night, because we interviewed a cop, and yeah, that could have got really, really ugly.
Yeah, I would have gotten yelled at. He probably would have drove to my house and beat my ass, because I'm just like, look, man.
All the way from Jersey. Yeah, right. Okay.
Hey, man.
Rewind it back just a little bit to like the photo op thing. One picture that is circulating is the one from like several years back during like the peak of Black Lives Matter after their founding. And it was the black boy that was hugging the white police officer. And the boy is crying. The policeman is hugging him, but he ain't crying. And my thing, like, it's being rehashed and it's resurfaced in the midst of all of this stuff, as though like black people and, you know, cops can have peaceful interactions. My thing is, did y'all forget
this lady
that
just
boy
say
was
fuck
killed?
12? What the hell?
I sure the fuck did. But my thing is, y'all know that this, if anybody's familiar with the story outside of this, and it's funny because I never like seeing videos where like cops are like playing with kids in the street or playing basketball or jumping rope, because I'm just like, girl, it doesn't even have to be all of that. Just stop killing people. And if you do, be accountable. That's
Dude,
it.
you talking
Like,
about one time out of
no,
25,000 each
but
time.
also, but no, where I was also going with this too is the reason this photo definitely shouldn't be circulated is because this white woman killed that baby and all of his adopted siblings, and that photo was staged. Y'all don't remember that story where the white woman put them all in the car? She made sure the dog was straight. She got the dog rehomed, but what she did was she rolled she put the kids in the car and killed them.
Was this a
Y'all don't remember
lesbian
this?
relationship? She had a
Yes,
wife.
it was two.
Yes,
Mhm.
I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, she killed the whole family. Yeah, I remember.
She killed the whole family,
Yeah,
but
she
made
was on
sure the
some
dog
weird
was good.
suicidal shit.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, no, she's not. She was never a social justice warrior. Y'all girls need to do y'all research behind these pictures that y'all are posting. Clearly, that don't even make sense. Like, why are we posting this? I can't with these. Like, it has been very exhausting. A very exhausting week.
You know,
Tomorrow we have TED Talks. Like once a month, we're able to do, like, we have a lunch and learn TED Talk, and it's optional. And
Odie, your mic's going out.
Well, all right, I'll take her place. And so then the guy, he was like, he was doing what he was doing, you know what I'm saying?
You know she don't talk like that. Would you stop?
And then, you know.
Sounds absolutely nothing like Odie.
Don't do me. Thank you. I'm back. But
You didn't like my impression? That wasn't a good impression?
No, not at all.
I'm trying to do voice acting. I'm trying to get my game up.
Your voice got to be heavier to be my voice, but
My voice got to be heavier.
No, not Fat Albert heavy. Don't do me like that either. But my thing is, what I was just saying is I'm just trying to be responsible with tomorrow's TED Talk, because y'all know I don't turn my blackness down for nobody.
Whoa. Hold on. Say it again. You saying that you're going to be on a TED Talk tomorrow, like a real TED Talk?
It's a lunch and learn that we do at work, and where people show TED Talks, or speeches or things that inspire them, or get various conversations going. It can be for fun. It can be more professionally driven, whatever. But the idea is that it's about, like, you pick a TED Talk. And while I was going to do the TED Talk that interviewed the Black Lives Matter founders, I decided to go with the Trevor Noah speech where he has this, like, stream of consciousness and he's talking about social contracts. It came out, like, in the past week or two, maybe. And so I decided to go with that mainly because it expands on Black Lives Matter, but also talks about the riots. And
yo, I got the perfect TED Talk for you. I'm going to inbox you. It's about this guy. He likes, like, when the telemarketers be calling him, he talks back to them and
somebody
he
already
tricks them.
did that one.
That shit was so crazy.
Yeah, but like, now is the time to be socially responsible, because my job has not been talking about this. And what's crazy is they actually just sent out a survey where they were asking us about how we're coping with COVID. Bitch, I'm over COVID. Y'all asking me about that 2 months later. Ask me about how I'm feeling right now, because I guarantee you it has nothing to do with COVID.
Right.
And that's what I made sure I put on the survey too. I talked about the things that are bothering me. And especially because the leadership is super tone deaf. They're just like, I can't, like, one of the things I saw that was, I'm so proud of this group that I'm in. I'm in this Facebook group. I don't want to, like, call them out because I feel like it's a safe space. I want to keep it a safe space. Mm-hmm. But I saw them on the Facebook commercial actually as one of the groups. And I was like, oh shit, like we, we live, we out here. And the thing I like about that group is it really is a safe space to exchange ideas. But one of the
Yo, hold up. What's the name of the group? Because I want to start some havoc. You know what I mean?
Nope, not gonna do that. But what I was gonna say is one of the posters posted up that it was that one of the things that white colleagues can stop doing or start doing to offer to help is giving us PTO days for racial trauma incidents, because there have been plenty of times where I wish I could have taken a day or two off to decompress, because I can't come up to work and smile. I can't show up to work 100%. Today was one of those
Yo,
days.
that was me last Monday. And the crazy thing is, I made productivity anyway and had to retract it. That just shows how resilient we are as a people. You dig what I'm saying?
We carry a lot of stuff with us, and it just becomes part of the new normal for us, you know. And a lot of people don't understand it because they're not. And I wouldn't expect some people to understand it, but I mean,
Nope.
but I will say this: people around the world understand. I mean, put it like this. This is from Forbes, Forbes.com. In London, protesters marched through the streets of Peckham Saturday, a neighborhood known for being home to generations of African and Caribbean immigrants communities that is becoming rapidly gentrified, kind of like Brooklyn. Protesters carried signs and chanted Black Lives Matter out of solidarity with the rallies in Minneapolis and other US cities, but also pointed out that the UK is not innocent when it comes to racism, while a smaller group also protested outside of the US Embassy in London to demand justice for George Floyd. Up to a reported 4,000 people in Toronto protested racism in Canada and beyond. And beyond Saturday, particularly in response to the death of, and I'm going to butcher this person's name, Regis Korchinski Paquette. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. A Black woman in Toronto who fell from her high-rise apartment balcony while alone with police who had been called to her home on Wednesday. Now, and I was supposed to find out more about that story. I may even bring it up for Saturday. Thousands of Germans reportedly gathered in front of the American embassy in Berlin to chant Black Lives Matter, according to media reporting from the scene, though the words sounded muffled, possibly because of the face mask that the protesters wore. They didn't have to put that last part in there. I don't know why I even read it. But I was like, come on, Forbes. I mean, we're still in the pandemic. People have face masks on. If you yell loud enough, people will know what you're saying. So come on, Forbes, you're killing me. But I think that these go beyond just George Floyd. I think George Floyd was basically just like, okay, we're halfway through this year. We got murder hornets. We got Democrats and Republicans failing, giving all the money to the top. And then we get to see a video of a man with a cop on a man's neck for 9 minutes. And they fired him. But I mean, come on. I mean, put it like this. If your biggest penalty for losing your job is killing someone, there'd be a lot of dead people right now. If like, oh, I could just kill this person I hate on my job and all I do is get fired. All right, let me just sharpen up my resume, get my get my ice pick, and let's start that job hunt. I mean, come on, it shouldn't even be a thing right now. So George Floyd is basically just the straw that broke the camel's back. Because we've seen this story way too many times. We've seen this remake happen way too often, And my thing is this, anybody who, and here's the thing, it's easy for me to be nonchalant about it because there's no rioting in my area. I don't live in Raleigh anymore, So I don't even know if there's a curfew in my town.
You probably would know. I actually got the city of Raleigh sent out a text and they sent out an email. I don't recall getting any other correspondence because like when it's city of Raleigh picking up my trash, they call, or whenever there's like a change to the schedule with trash, they call, text and email. But today I only got a text and I got an email and it basically said that there's a curfew at 8 o'clock. Now, granted, I feel like I didn't get that notice until maybe 5:30, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and I'm checking my emails again just in case, but I didn't get anything. I checked my emails maybe like an hour ago. I didn't see anything about a curfew. Now, keep in mind, in my small little town and with the whole pandemic thing, my supermarket's already closed, and that's the only place I'd go right now if I could. So I guess I'll have to keep what little food I have until tomorrow. Don't worry, I got plenty of food. I'm just kidding. But it's easy for me to be nonchalant because I don't live in a city where protests are actually happening. Even though I live close to one, I live maybe like 15, 20 minutes outside of Raleigh, but probably less now since there's no traffic out there.
No, I was gonna say, like, I used to live in that part of Cary. It was a smooth 10 minutes. People it was people are so weird with Carrie. They're like, you live too far. I'm like, bitch, I'm 10 minutes away. It takes 20 minutes to get everywhere in Raleigh. Like, what are you talking? I'm closer to you here than I would have been living in North Raleigh, compared to like downtown or something. Yeah, people are weird with Carrie.
Yeah. I tell people I live in Cary, they're like, la di da, Mr. Salad Fork. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what do you think I live in Beverly Hills? But I will say this though. I've seen a lot of videos of bad actors, so to speak. And then when we talk about actors, no, George Clooney's not out there, breaking windows. Well, they talk about people and their actions, they will call them actors. So they may, like in politics, they'll say somebody's a bad actor if they're purposely doing something foul, so to speak, So this is a little bit long, but I want you to bear with me on this one, okay? This is from the police chief in Pittsburgh, right? And I forgot to write down where I got this from. I don't want to click on the link because I don't want to play the video. But during a press conference, I think this was from a local TV station in Pittsburgh. During a press conference, Pittsburgh Police Chief Scott Schubert expressed disappointment and anger toward those that turned Saturday afternoon's protests from peaceful to violent. And he says, I can tell you as the police chief, I'm very disappointed because there was a peaceful protest for something that was very serious. And this does nothing to honor the memory of somebody who died. This is when you take it from a peaceful protest and you take it to a riot where you're injuring people, you're throwing rocks at people, you're throwing cans at people, you're hurting reporters, you're taking over something that shouldn't be. He says, both Chief Schubert and Pittsburgh Public Safety Director Wendell Hisrich expressed a belief that those responsible for taking the protest from peaceful to violent are not from the city. He says, we believe a lot of these individuals that are creating trouble are not from the city. I don't know why they wrote that twice. I probably should have looked that over and deleted that line. He says, I'm so angry at the fact that some segment hijacked this and then took some of the youth and brought them into the mix. This is the chief of police talking. He says, this is something that we take very seriously and we'll do everything that we can for the ones who did this and find out who they are and to get them. He says, and then I'll skip a little bit of this, but he says, I'm willing to bet my check that there's a lot of people who are anarchists who they're not here to protest what happened. They're here to take advantage of situations and throw it their way and bring other people into the mix and cause damage and cause injury. So there's no doubt that that's who's doing it. And a lot of people we're seeing are white males dressed in the anarchist Antifa gear, because they're the ones who are fueling a lot of this. Okay. So there has been a lot of reports, and some of them, and more to Odie's point, I didn't want to go ahead and just start throwing articles out there because a lot of times people will take these pictures and like I saw a picture of like a bunch of cops kneeling in the street and then they were like, well, cops in solidarity with the protesters.
Y'all had to pass 5 years to keep this fire from coming up.
Yeah.
But it's too late now. We off that. We not doing that no more. Y'all a day late and a dollar short.
Yeah, I didn't repost it. I saved it, and I was like, I need to research this because I'm not buying this whole. I think the only one that I posted without checking, because I think I forgot where the source where it came from, was the string of white women who were protecting protesters from the cops.
I don't give a goddamn. That's what y'all should be doing. Like what? Oh, and then I saw another one too, where like the black men were protecting like one cop that basically got separated from the squad.
I did see that as well.
No cops. We not killing no cops. You don't have to worry about him.
Yeah. No, I will say I will say one thing that I thought was pretty funny. A cop got knocked out by a protester, and that's not the funny part. I know why I got unfriended by some of my people. I didn't repost it because the video was kind of choppy, but basically the guy was filming the cop, right, with his phone, and the cop took the guy's phone and threw his phone, and then the guy just knocks the cop out, and then he runs. And then you see the cops like dragging the knocked out cop away. But I mean, as far as I know, we're allowed to tape the police. So if SWAT was going into a building going after a suspect, I don't think we want to be taping that,
So
But
one organization I'm sure is very, very busy. But I'm really curious as to how they're going to handle what is undoubtedly going to be a huge new influx of new members, is NAGA. And that, if you guys recall, like on the 360
Did you say
show,
Naga? Like Naga? Like, ooh, that's my Naga?
NAAGA, NAGA, NAAGA, like NACA, but with a G for girl.
Yeah, like,
For
ooh, you my Naga. Hey, Naga, how you doing, Naga?
No, not at all. And what accent is that? But no, if you guys recall, like on the, I think it was a 360 show, I couldn't remember the acronym for the National Association for
The Gun Association.
Gun Association. So basically, I'm sure they're about to get new members. But my thing is, one of the things that I was curious about that Raleigh PD posted, is that we're not allowed to bring weapons, even though we're an open carry state. And while I would normally say, well, this sounds like a job for the NRA, at this point, we know who they're talking to, because the majority of the people at the protests across the country are Black people. So
hold up. So when you can take AK-47s and stand on the steps
to Subway.
I'm so confused.
To Subway.
Right.
To ask for a haircut, to demand a haircut, but people want you to stop killing them without any type of ramifications, and you all of a sudden can't take your weapon to defend yourself? Yeah, that sounds like it's illegal. If NAGA is going to be the Black version of the NRA, I really need them to step it up and get on that.
Yo, dude, I'll be honest.
Yeah, they
the
are.
The only time I ever heard of NAGA is when y'all brought it up, and I was saying, oh, that's my NAGA. That's my NAGA. But the only time I ever heard of it is when you brought it to my attention. I've never even heard of that until y'all brought it up.
Yeah.
Well, as somebody who recently purchased a gun.
I got plenty of guns, you know what I'm saying? And I still never heard of NAGA.
Yeah.
The pawn shop that sold me my last 9 didn't say anything about you should join NAGA.
But which
they're not going to tell you.
Was it Black owned? Was it Black owned?
No, it's on national. On
yeah, no. I
right there by you.
I bought mine from a Black owned gun shop.
I didn't know we had such a thing. I get all my guns from the pawn shop.
No, they got a shooting range and everything.
Yeah, we don't have any Black-owned gun shops down here where I live at, but I'm definitely willing to travel.
I bet you got some pawn shops though. You got some pawn shops though, right?
Yeah, I guess, but it is what it is. But I typically buy like online or something like that, and then go pick it up from an authorized location. You have to have it delivered there. But or Academy. I like Academy. We have like Academy stores down here, but I wish we did have more Black.
So they went and banned the AK, but guess what? My shit wasn't registered any fucking way.
But we already know gun reform. This is it already taking shape, which was, if you want gun reform, encourage Black people to buy guns, because now all of a sudden you're curbing the use of guns. But unfortunately, I don't think this is legal. So Mercedes, you were starting to say that you think they are stepping up, or had you read or heard something about that?
I remember was about like a couple weeks ago, you had posted something in the group about it. Mm-hmm. And me personally, I knew of the organization, but I didn't know many people that was a part of it. But I have a lot of Black friends who just love guns. So I reached out to a few of them, and I was like, as a gun owner with plenty of guns myself, what do you guys think about this? One of my friends is part of it. I think it's like $499 a year to be a part of it.
It is expensive, but whatever. Yeah. It's worth it.
Right.
If that's what they're doing, if those are the types of initiatives they work on.
Right. But see, the thing is, to be part of that organization, you also have to go through another organization, which is not Black owned. It's pretty much the general, what is it called? I can't remember what it's called. Like, I have my CWP and everything, but there's another part that I would have to go through to become part of that organization. And it's like a US type thing, to be, I guess, certified or whatever. You have to actually go through that and take that class, even if you got your CWP for your state. So they're stepping stones, but they're not all just, Black owned. So unfortunately, so you got to go through a lot to get to it. But once you're in it, you're in it.
Right.
So yeah.
And I mean, you know, I mean, everybody knows it's part of history when gun gun control became a big thing in California when the Black Panthers started taking up arms. You know, patrolling the streets with, you know, with their long guns and everything like that. And then gun control stepped up after that. You know what I mean? So it's not just something that people say on a meme, that if more African Americans started taking up gun ownership, that they would strengthen gun laws. It's happened before, you know? It's definitely happened before. So and like I said, I'm not a gun owner. I'll probably never be a gun owner. But at the same time, I do not discourage responsible gun ownership. You know, I know people who have, one of my friends, her son, you know, learned to shoot since he was like 10 years old. But, you know, his grandfather, when he trained him, was basically like, look, this is not a toy. You know, they put that in their heads at a young age, that these are not toys. These, you know, these can take lives.
I think anything you teach a child should be taught that way. My father taught me how to drive. Like, when you think about something that could kill somebody when used wrong or incorrectly, you know, he taught me how to drive when I was like 10.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's a good age to start if you're old enough and mature enough to comprehend.
Yeah, I think it depends on your kid. It depends. You have to know your kid, but yeah. And I think most of the accidents in the home, when there is irresponsible gun ownership, are coming from people who don't have guns in the home. So like if your kid has a sleepover or something like that, then that's where crazy things happen, because they don't know how to be responsible with the gun. But my thing is, if I were a parent, I don't understand how people just let their kids sleep wherever and don't ask those types of questions. Is there a gun in the home? Hell, are there any convicted sex offenders in your home? I need to know. Or even accused. Shit like that. Just ask the right questions, but going into a whole other rabbit hole
you know
there.
what's funny? We never really had to ask questions like that. And I say in my day, like I'm 78 years old. But in my day, we didn't really, I mean, it's not like my parents weren't suspicious of other people when we used to go over their houses, but they didn't have to know everybody that we knew. I mean, and here's the thing. If kids were friends, their parents would eventually become friends anyway. You know,
See, the thing is, I feel like
a matter of fact. You know,
social media has really shown a light on how dumb people really are. I think people were just more likely to give you the benefit of the doubt because of what was happening within the confines of your own four walls. But now we see, like, within the confines of your own four walls, people are doing all types of dumb shit. Not washing their legs, not washing their feet, not washing their chicken, just being clean, like unclean people. And then on top of that, you're an all lives matter person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to know what types of conversations to have with people based on your own values to make sure that your kid is not exposed to all the dumb shit, so you don't fuck them up.
Yeah.
Man, kids are stupid as hell these days.
Well, I mean, I don't want to go into the weeds on this, but I mean,
well, who could blame them based on some of their parents?
Basically,
that and the influence of media and the lack of parenting based on the cultural shift.
Yeah, I mean,
well, this is the problem as a parent for myself. I don't want my kids to hate anybody. Unfortunately, I have to feed them the truth and reality of who they are, that the person you see in the mirror is not necessarily what society sees. So they have to carry themselves a certain type of way once they get outside my household, once they become adults. And it's actually scary as fuck if you think about it. So it's just like when you guys were just talking about guns, I've already taken my oldest two to the gun range. They know how to handle the guns. And progressively, as the other three get a little bit older, I'm gonna start taking them too. So you gotta instill.
I can't do that.
Yeah. Well, in the state of South Carolina, which I don't know how it is anywhere else, but as long as the child is tall enough to see, it's almost like, tall enough to ride a roller coaster. But as long as they can, I think their chest is over the bar at the shooting range, you can take them or whatever in the booth. And my oldest is 14, and then my other one is 11, and then my other one is right behind them, 10, 8, 7. So yeah, they'll be next. It's just I don't want my kids to be ignorant to something that other parents may not have, chose to tell their kids. Like you said, they go to a sleepover, they see a gun. Hey, my mama don't play that. We got 100 guns in the house, and we don't fool with guns. You go in the opposite direction. So you don't want.
And I'm gonna report your mama for not putting the trigger lock on.
Exactly. My kids ain't ignorant to that type of stuff. So if every household is different, everybody raise their kids different, everybody do things differently. But it's your job as a parent to teach them exactly what they need to know so they won't be ignorant out here in this world. And again,
each generation is more whitewashed than the previous version. These kids just don't have the strength, the stout that previous versions have had. I bet you the motherfuckers out the 70s and 60s, them some hard motherfuckers compared to the 80s and 90s. And these damn 2000 babies, they flimsy as shit.
I will say this as a child who grew up in the 70s and 80s. I don't know how I don't have brain damage, because we used to ride bikes, jump curbs, go to construction sites, ride around, no helmets, no pads, no nothing. And it's not like we never fell.
Yeah, exactly. Same. I was born in the 80s and the 90s raised me. So it was one of them things where we just did everything. This generation is soft as hell.
But you know what? But they also face more dangers. It's not. I mean, we used to see that stranger danger stuff.
We say they face more dangers, but this shit I think it just we're just have more exposure to it because of social media. Shit ain't changed. Kids are still getting molested like they was back in the day. Bitches was getting pregnant at 13, 14 years old back in the day. This ain't no new shit. It's more. In the past, we were protected because we lived in villages or groups of people that look like us. Now we're more diverse and more integrated, and that's the damage that's been done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I put it like this. I grew up in a mixed neighborhood around all types of kids. And I see that as more of a benefit than a detriment. But then again, but then again, I grew up in that way in New York. It might not be that way.
That's fine. Yeah, New York is more multicultural, more diverse in that way. But then something pop off, and then they break off into their sex, and then you on your solo tip because you was hanging with Whitey, and Whitey gang up on your ass like, oh, all of a sudden. I was cool with this white boy named Toby. You remember Toby, son? I was cool with this white boy named Toby. And me and Toby was cool all the way up into high school when we went into different sects. And we wasn't cool no more. We had different associations. And then after a while, we became enemies because of those associations. You dig? But when we was coming up, his mama used to take me to the damn beach, to water skiing, to the park, to all this shit. You know what I'm saying? That's white people shit. That's what they do, right? But as soon as high school hit, it was a whole new ball game. You did?
I'll put it like this. I just have a different experience because all my friends, no matter what race they were, the same friends I've had since. Actually, I was just on the phone with a friend of mine before we started today. Dude,
you from Long Island, right?
I'm from Long Island.
That shit don't count.
Yeah, we've been friends since we were in grade school, and now like 30, almost 40 years later, we're still friends. So
Blue ain't got no filter.
Yeah.
Like at all. I'm in the grocery store right now. I'm over here about trying not to laugh out loud. I'm so stupid.
But I mean, everybody has a different experience, so I have to keep that in mind. I mean, and not just our crew here, but other people. Like I said, if I grew up in South Carolina during that same time, I might not have that same perspective. Especially if I grew up in South Carolina in the 70s, as opposed to growing up there now. So, but I mean, you got people like Donald Trump, right? Our handsome glowing orange boy that's on the screen. I will say this: he is one of the. I mean, I know. My friends were calling us out like, oh, you keyboard warriors. I'm going out there in the riots. What are you doing? I'm like, look, I'm 67 years old, man. I ain't trying to be out there in no riots. What am I doing?
67? Goddamn. I thought you was 40-something.
I was joking with my friend earlier. I'm like, every time I say something like that, I'm just going to add like 8 years of my age. 2 years from now, I'll be like, I'm 176 years old, man. I ain't got time for this. But what am I going to do? Call Uber to the riot? How am I going to get home? You think they're gonna come back out there when everything's burnt, when everything's on fire? Nah, But I look at it like this, right? When they had the protests in D.C., they put Trump in the bunker. So when Trump is on stage surrounded by his MAGA chuds, he's like super macho man up there. But when the smallest hint of danger comes around, they put him in the bunker. He is basically, I don't even know he talks so tough, but when it comes time to at least just stand in the face of a little bit of danger. And I mean, it's not like aliens are invading or the Russian army is, well, the Russian army would be helping Trump, but you know what I mean. It's not like, you know, like real, honest to goodness danger. It's protesters, right? And they put him in the bunker. Here's what Trump was talking about when it came to the riots. Okay, there's a tweet from May 28th. He says, "I can't stand back and watch this happen to a great American city, Minneapolis. A total lack of leadership." Trump talking about lack of leadership. Holy Jesus, God in heaven. He says, either the very weak radical left mayor, Jacob Frey, get his act together and bring the city under control, or I will send in the National Guard to get the job done right. He says, these thugs, and he capitalized thugs, mind you, these thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd. Let me stop right there for a second. Donald Trump doesn't give two squirts of piss about George Floyd. And as far as I know, he hasn't said anything about George Floyd outside of the concept of the riots. But anyway, he says, these thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd, and I won't let that happen. Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz and told him that the military is with him all the way. He says, any difficulty and we will assume control, but, and here's the key part, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Now, somebody on the news found out where that phrase came from. That came from, I think there were riots back in Miami, like in 68 or 69. And that's what their officials were saying. That was their catchphrase. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Trump always manages to find the most racist phrases and then just regurgitate them and just bring them back into modern day. So he's finding like racist state officials from the 60s and then bringing their words into 2020, you know. But we all know that, you know, I mean, I can't even say he talks a good game. You remember when he was running for president, somebody came up on the stage and Trump, like, he literally almost shit his pants running behind his guards on the stage. He was you know, he's not a tough guy. But if you hear him talk, like, you remember when they had that school shooting, in one of the school shootings, there's been so many. I don't mean to trivialize it, but there's been a lot of them. And Trump actually told reporters that even if he didn't have a gun, he would have went in there to go after the shooter. Now, nobody thought that was true. I don't think Trump's own children thought that was true. But that's just the way he talks. You know, he talks a good game, but when it comes time to put it all out there, he's going to run to the bunker. You know. And of course, he'll probably say that, oh yeah, well, you know, my people need to keep me safe. Keep you safe from what? I mean, were they trying to bring down the gates of the White House to come get you? Was it like Batman? Was it like the Dark Knight Rises, where they were pulling rich people out of their homes and killing them on their front lawns? No, hadn't gotten to that point. So Trump going in his bunker, he's just a little pussy. That's all there is to it. He talks that super macho man crap. And then when it comes time to it, he's like a scared little baby running to his little bunker, you know. And here's the thing. If he was any other politician, I wouldn't be giving him shit for that. But then again, other politicians don't talk half the shit that Trump does. That's the reason why I single him out for that. And then what did Trump do during all that time, right? Instead of addressing the nation with, you know, aside from just addressing just tough talk and making matters worse. Do you think the National Guard is going to make things better in this situation, or you think it's going to make it worse?
I think it'll make it worse.
Yeah.
You know it's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what that's Trump's forte. That's what he's great at, making things worse. Speaking of making things worse, Trump basically vetoed a student loan forgiveness bill. Now, this is a little bit misleading, so I want to put some context to this, okay? This student loan forgiveness bill has nothing to do with anything that came out of the stimulus package for COVID-19, right? And I should probably have made that more clear when I was reading that story about it. So this is also from Forbes.com. In a widely expected move, Trump vetoed congressional legislation that would have overturned a key student loan forgiveness rule drafted by the U.S. Education Department under the leadership of Forbes. You're so funny. The leadership of Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. In March, the U.S. Senate voted 53-42 to overturn a new student loan forgiveness rule introduced by Betsy DeVos that critics argue limits student loan forgiveness for students when a college closes due to fraud. Okay? All Senate Democrats and 10 Republicans voted on a bipartisan basis. The House of Representatives overturned the rule in January by a vote of 231 to 180. Right? The student loan forgiveness rules are known as borrower defense to repayment, which allows students to have their federal student loans forgiven if a school employed illegal or deceptive practices to encourage the student to borrow debt to attend the school. Without these rules, students are potentially on the hook to repay federal student loans even if they didn't find gainful employment or finish their degree before their school is closed. The original rules were issued during the Obama administration. However, DeVos rewrote the rules to narrow the requirements to receive student loan forgiveness. Okay. I'm not gonna
Now, also too, one of my white classmates, former classmates, who survived the purge. Just to be clear, he he's former military. He works at the VA currently. I didn't even know this until he posted about this veto, and he's friends with a lot of Trump supporters. But I know that that's not the energy he's on, which is why he survived the purge. But it was very interesting to see the people in the comments telling him that he was wrong, that Trump is their only savior, and that he's the one who's blind and should open up his eyes. But he actually provided a very diplomatic response, and that's how I learned that he works at the VA currently, because I knew he was in the military. But he was like, yeah, I went to school. He was like, I did, quote unquote, did my time. Like, I went to the military, served my country, but I went to school on the premise that, like, I wouldn't have to incur so much debt. And he was like, I know a lot of people in this situation, and he was like, this is wild. And it's so crazy that the Trump supporters in one breath will say, thank you for your service, but fuck you in the next breath. Fuck your feelings, fuck your financial circumstance. You're asking for too much. Your generation is lazy. Wow.
Yeah, I don't like when they do that. I mean, as a Generation Xer, I feel more connected to millennials and Gen Z than I do to baby boomers. I mean, if you really think about it, and not on an individual basis, but on a whole level, baby boomers were like locusts. Okay, they were handed the keys to the kingdom, and they basically, it's like those old jungle movies where somebody's running from the natives and they run across the rope bridge, and what they do, they cut the rope bridge so no one else can come through. Right?
Yeah, and that's basically what he said. He was like, your generation has all of these benefits that my generation will never get to enjoy, but we're the lazy, entitled ones. Like, get the fuck out of here. He was too nice to say that, but that's what I would have said.
Basically, I mean, I would get kicked. I mean, I don't join a lot of Facebook groups because I get kicked out of a lot of Facebook groups because I'm just like, look, your opinions are stupid, and here's why, and just back it up with just facts. Because I got kicked out of a group, out of a bunch of neoliberals. Oh, they couldn't wait to get rid of me. But I was just like, word, is this how we do things now? And I was just a total dickbag in that thing, And yeah, I told a couple people, okay, boomer, and they didn't like that either. I just did to get on their skin. But, they were like these Bernie hating neoliberals. And like every negative article they could find about Bernie, they would post. And then when I would just post something about Joe Biden and the fact that he doesn't know where he is right now, they would get mad at me. But what are you going to do? It's all about checking the facts. You got to check them on the facts. You can't just come out and just say something. You got to spit the facts. And the thing is, you have people like Trump who know nothing about facts, who just say what they want to and don't want to be checked on it, right? I'll tell you this about Trump's battle with Twitter. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then here's the thing. You figure Trump basically shuffled his feet on the whole COVID-19 thing. 100,000 people died that didn't have to die. Now, like I said, COVID-19 is a highly contagious airborne disease. There's no way we weren't going to lose 10, 20, 30,000 people in this. There was no way. Okay? And I know I say those like I'm
somebody
counting.
Unless there was some sort of magical task force that could have predicted that this would come and then could have said, oh, you know what, we need to mitigate our losses here.
I mean, where would you find a task force like that? I mean, it's not like the previous president made such a task force that was funded by the current organization.
You would have thought. You would have thought. Thanks, Obama.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of a fucking moron would take a task force that was already put in place and just disband it because a pandemic didn't happen? That's like saying, you know what? We haven't had a fire here in 4 years. Do we really need a fire department? Why are we paying these firemen to just sit around and wait for a fire? You know why? Because I'm running this country like a business. Every time I hear somebody say that, I just want to crush their windpipe. And I do. And I feel, you know, I'm not an ogre like that, but that's how angry I am. Like, you know, America needs to be run like a business. Let me ask you a question. What business out here is being run that makes you go, yeah, that works? You got Elon Musk. He's literally started his own space program. He's so rich. Tell me again why America should be run like a business. When, especially with the world's worst businessman as president, let me ask you a question. Who the fuck thinks, you know what, I should sell my steaks on a sharper image? You know what I should do? I should buy some stationery, a fancy pen, and a porterhouse. What kind of a moron does that? Sell steaks on a sharper image. That's your guy who you want America to run like a business. But the problem is he surrounds himself with nonsensical, glad-handing douchebag yes men who don't want to tell him anything. And when people tell him something, he gets mad. Case in point, Twitter. Donald Trump has been on Twitter for years. And I'm not just talking about as president. Since before he was president, just talking out the side of his ass all day long. He's the president now. Hassan Minaj made a point. When the president is up at 3 a.m. tweeting, right? Putting out like, 18, 20 tweets an hour, starting at 3 o'clock in the morning, just know he is 100% sober. No alcohol on this man. And yet he still has the urge to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and start tweeting. And I
just think it's funny that he's up there tweeting. And usually, like, I'm pretty confident that Barack Obama never tweeted. Like, he might have approved the tweets, but I don't think he ever tweeted. But we know that this is like coming from his account. Yeah. I don't think he would ever relinquish control to let somebody else tweet for him.
Yeah.
To ensure grammatical correctness or diplomacy or anything like that. I don't think he would ever allow that. I think it's always him behind the keyboard too. But yeah, shout out to the GOAT who was at Twitter and shut that account down briefly, if only for a moment in time.
Yeah, I mean,
I know he lost his shit, and what's so funny to me is like, dude, you're using someone else's platform to spew your hate. Like, I feel like if you really wanted to get your message across and to people that care about what you have to say, why don't you send it to your subscribers? Put it on your website. Let them go to your website every day. At least that's your own platform. You see what I'm saying? But he has to make sure that he is on Twitter because he wants people to retweet and like and share or whatever, or you know how Twitter works. But yeah, he cares about being seen and us knowing that he's seen.
I mean, half of Trump, I won't say half, that's a little bit much, but a good number of Trump's subscribers are bots in the first place. So it's not like there are some people who hire companies and they get bots and they get people to subscribe to them so they can build.
Oh, absolutely.
And Obama still has what, like double the amount of subscribers that that Trump has. He's not even president no more. So this is from Politico, okay? President Donald Trump is expected to sign an executive order aimed at social media companies Thursday. This is from a couple of days ago, okay? White House Press Secretary Kayleigh I don't know, the blonde chick, told reporters Wednesday evening, a move that comes as the president and his allies have escalated their allegations that companies like Twitter and Facebook stifle GOP voices. Basically, what they're saying is, please listen to my racist nonsense. Okay, but it said the announcement revived fears within the online industry that the Trump administration will target a 1996 statute that protects the companies from lawsuits, an avenue that a growing number of Republican lawmakers are advocating as they press their bias accusations about Silicon Valley. The statute has helped tech giants earn many billions of dollars from users from their tweets, posts, likes, photos, and videos with limited legal liability, while giving them broad leeway to remove material that they consider objectionable. I'm going to stop right there for a second. I will say this. I would say I do, and I was joking with my friends, like I really need to make a second Twitter account just to have fun. So I could follow like The Rock and Tom Hanks, you know what I mean? And then just put up fun tweets. You know, my Twitter account is just all grit and grime and seriousness and me just yelling at politicians I don't like yelling at Amy Klobuchar when she tries to tweet about the riots. And I'm like, you started this because you didn't put that man in jail when you had the chance. So that's my Twitter account. But I have said some off-color things and I've never got called on it, right? I try not to go too far because these are still people, but I've gotten on people before. But the only time I ever get blocked is when people report me. Like, for instance, I called Candace Owens a bedwench, and that cost me a day on Twitter. I called, I suggested that Ivanka get Jared a gift for anniversary, which was a murder-suicide. That cost me a week on Twitter. But it's usually when people report you, and usually the people who are quick to report you, Republicans. So when they talk about free speech, you know, it's basically they want their speech to be free and your speech to be checked. But anyway, we're almost out of time, but so let me finish this up. These platforms act, and this is somebody from the Trump administration talking about this. These platforms act like they are potted plants when in reality, they are curators of user experiences. The man behind the curtain for everything we can see or hear. The person said that the order, which was described as a broad and high level, would address complaints that the online platforms are deceiving people by picking and choosing what content to allow or block instead of acting as politically neutral platforms or moderators. Now, here's my thing about that, right? You remember when they had conservative, Conservapedia? So the conservatives had their own Wikipedia. I don't even know if it still exists, but like I'd say like 5-6 years ago, they started their own conservative version of Wikipedia. Or they have like their own conservative dating sites. Because they were tired of getting rejected by liberal women. I don't even know why they want to date liberal women. You know?
Right.
But my thing is this. First of all, the fact that if Trump thinks that executive order is not going to get challenged 10 ways a Sunday, he's an idiot. Well, we know he's an idiot, but he's basically just acting out. He was mad because when he did his tweet about mail-in voting, right? Which they've been doing for decades. Matter of fact, in Florida, the state that he moved to, everybody has the option to do mail-in voting if they want to. So if you want to do mail-in voting, you could just request a ballot and then you could just mail it in, right? Matter of fact, Trump's press secretary, somebody called her out. They found out, they pulled her voting records. They found out that she's voted by mail 11 times.
Right.
That's not a made up number. She's voted by mail 11 times, but she's out there parroting Trump and saying that it's full of fraud and all that stuff. Trump's like, they're going to be breaking into your mailbox. It is exceedingly difficult to do fraud by mail as mail-in voting goes. Extremely difficult to do, right? And even if you do, how many votes do you think you're going to get? You're going to put in that one extra vote? Come on. That's absolutely ridiculous. you have more of a chance of tampering with voting machines than you do with tampering with in-mail voting. But when when Trump talked about it, how it was rife with fraud, Twitter fact-checked him. And they put a link below it about, the truth about mail-in ballots. And Trump lost it. And then, and also that tweet that I had read earlier about when the shooting starts, the looting starts, basically they flagged that tweet, but because he's the president, they couldn't take it down, but they flagged it. And they let people know, hey, this is out of bounds. Because he's inspiring his fans to start shooting looters, right? So it's absolutely amazing how the way to get Trump to act is to annoy the shit out of him. Like people are suffering, people are dying. Trump is just out there, pining away from the days that he could do rallies. But if you annoy him, he will automatically get to his empty desk. His desk never has any papers on it, and then write an executive order to quote unquote make things right. So I will have to say this. Every time I see articles where they're like, a Trump presidency is over, I'm like, y'all full of shit. Because they've been saying this presidency has been over since like 2017, and yeah, he's still there. So if he's not getting voted out, I hate to see what would happen in his next 4 years. Because this 4 years has been the stuff of legend. And I don't mean legend like a pro wrestling legend or a basketball legend. I mean like legendary failure. Like failure that's so legendary, like you can't even parody it because it's already a parody of itself. I will say one thing before we wrap up. I saw the world's dumbest newscaster, because I forgot what state it was in, but they looted the Cheesecake Factory. And you could see the Cheesecake Factory in the background and people going in and out of Cheesecake Factory as it was being looted. And some chick was walking down the street with a cheesecake, like an entire cheesecake. She had a mask on and she was just walking down the street like she bought it. And the newscaster was literally like, I wonder where she got that cheesecake from. And I was like, are you serious right now? From the Cheesecake Factory in the background with the broken windows and people crawling in and out of it. That's where she got it from. And from what I hear, you have to actually go to like journalism school to be a journalist. Sometimes it just does not seem like it at all. Mercedes, what are your final thoughts?
Pretty much just very vague. Just stay safe out here, because we have a long way to go. We really do, in a lot of different ways. So
this is it's the beginning of the summer. I've always noticed that that's the trend. I've noticed it at least 10 years ago, that when people start to come out, interactions with police are always going to go up. People are agitated. It's hot, typically, and you got to be careful. This week, while I have been saying for the past several months, stay your ass home. If you about that life, don't stay home. Actually speak up, protest, do something. If you can. If you're so moved, then take your ass out to the streets. But put your mask on when you do. Please, we don't need another spike. I've noticed too that they actually have started I noticed the very next day after the initial protest, News and Observer said, oh, there's an immediate spike in numbers. And I was like, didn't y'all hoes tell us that it takes 2 weeks for those tests to come back? If anything, to me, it sounds like the numbers from the subway protesters and all of those people are the ones that are contributing to any numbers we see now. So please don't fall for the hype and think that, oh, there's a correlation between being out in the streets protesting on some Black Lives Matter stuff means that all of a sudden you're going to get corona. That's just not how it works. It doesn't work that fast. Based on what I saw, we wear masks, not very well. I saw some of, even like the news reporters had them on like ill-fitted condoms. I was like, "Whew, that's how people end up getting pregnant." I see that now. But
Yeah.
people do not wear. But
you gotta know your size.
yeah, you gotta know your size, or else that's stretched out. That's not working. But yeah, don't fall for the hype. Just wear your mask. And that's all I can say. If you're so moved, then don't stay your ass home. Not when it comes to this, but stay your ass home otherwise.
Mr. Blue, what are your final thoughts?
She said everything I wanted to say. I think she stole some of my script. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Urban Breakdown podcast, featuring hit shows such as POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. It's available on all streaming platforms except iHeartRadio, even though O's Odyssey is on iHeartRadio. Including YouTube. You can go listen via flip phone or home phone at 1-857-385-7045. That's the Urban Breakdown Podcast. And we's out.